Alright everybody, what is up? It is your boy Beatnuts from the town, from the valley, from what's up everybody? It's your boy Beatnuts. I hope you're having a great day, hope you're doing what you love, and I hope that you came to this video to learn something today. So based off the description, as much as you can see, this video is going to be a little bit different from my first video that I did from before. First one I did a video where it was more Isaiah Rashad type stuff. But now I'm going to be flipping the script because this is going to be a little teaser for my upcoming loop kit that I'm going to be selling for you guys here in the style of Rage, HYPERPOP, kind of SOFAYGO type loops and everything. So that's going to be coming out here soon. Originally I wanted to do it where maybe it was going to be 12 loops for 30 bucks, but I decided, hey, no, fuck that. I'm going to give you guys a great deal because I really worked hard on these loops and I want you guys to enjoy them. So I decided to cut the price in half, so it's going to be about 15 for you to cop this. This is going to be one of the loops that's going to be on that loop kit. So if you really are excited about this, stuff like that, let me know down below in the comments. If this is something you want to see me do more of, make sure to like and subscribe to the Underground Stars podcast, as well as our YouTube channel, obviously right here. Make sure to subscribe to or follow our Instagram, our Twitter, all that good stuff here. But we're gonna get right into it, man. Let's get straight into the cook up. Let's get straight into the breakdown of this loop. For this loop, the way that I started it was, believe it or not, I actually started with the bass line first. So what happened was I was trying to find a bunch of EDM stuff and I made trash. I made mid. It was just garbage. And then eventually I found a bass line that really worked for me. And it kind of gave me a little bit of sauce in terms of like how to come up with these melodies, stuff like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys the MIDI first, and then I'm gonna show you all the little sauce that I did for all this cool stuff. So I came up with this guy here, so peep it. I don't know, just like a more EDM anthem thing that I was kind of going for. So I was really inspired by Mr. Rage and everything. So the progression was, I believe, again, I know a little bit of music theory. I'm not a geek. I'm not a fucking I'm not really super into knowing everything there is about music theory and stuff like that. But it's helpful to have it as a tool, but you don't necessarily need it and everything. It's more of a guide rather than a blueprint, if that makes sense. No, I start off with A, then I went to B, so that way it built up hype and everything. And then for the last part I went to this E, and then after that I went all the way down to the house note, which for us over here is going to be the, so starts off. For those who want to know about the bass that I did in particular, I came with this bass kicked out thing here. So I found it over here. Alright, so I came out with this kicked out one. It's part of Cymatic's Future Bass Helix pack and everything. So I decided to pick this one. I really like this one because it's really fucking sick, very wide, very thick, very thick, very girthy. So that's the preset that I did for that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the synth part, because I decided to take the exact same part that I did for the bass and then put it down here. For the preset that I actually used, it actually is the initial preset, believe it or not. So it's the initial preset that Serum has when you open it up for the first time. And then after that, all I did was just give it some voicing for 5 and then take the detune to about like 6 or so, like 0.06. And then here's what I came up with. really fucking sick, crazy chords, stuff like that that I did here. I have a lot of this MIDI and stuff like that already pre-packaged, ready to go, export and everything, saved, all that good stuff. So if you guys want MIDI of all of these loops that I did and stuff like that to fuck around with and mess around with and everything, let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. So that's what I did for the synth and everything. I really like these though, because what I did for these chords was I didn't really follow the bass in particular, to be honest. What I really did was I decided to actually take some parts of the bass and everything and then layer the chords around it. So it sounds like this. And then for the rest of the chords, it just kind of went around it and everything. And even as you can see in the beginning of this chord, it starts off on E, not A or anything like that too. So just to give it some more full length and everything. Again, I don't know these chords that I really did. I just did what really sounds good. I actually penciled in all of this shit. And then after I decided to, because what I like to start off first is I like to do it where it's like these long chords. And then after I lengthened the chords, I made it a nice progression. That's when I start doing the chops. I did all these individual little things right here, these little lines, and you can pretty much mix and match and do whatever. But I just came up with this kind of cool little stuff here. And then finally the last resolving chord, which this one I think is a major 7 actually. This one might be a minor 9, and this one should also be a major diminished. Again, I don't fucking know the names, man. I just know it sounds good. I know the difference between major and minor though. I at least know that. And I know what a jazz chord is. But when you start talking about diminished and all this other stuff, sorry, I had flashbacks to band camp that I really don't want to remember. And for the preset that I did for the art part in particular, was all I actually did was find this pluck that's in this Anna synth right here. The Anna is a part of the Slate Digital bundle that you can get. You get like an nice EQ, you get essentially a nice guitar rig type plugin called THU Slate that I used to use a lot for a lot of my loops, and of course Anna itself. So I went to Anna because I really needed to use a little bit more of this plugin, and I found this pluck here called Tropical Fruit and just came up with this really cool progression. So that's the ARP line that I did. Essentially it's following just the same chords that I did, like the triad for the synth part and everything, but obviously I didn't keep it where it's just, I didn't like doing it where it was just the same kind of progression, where instead it just kind of goes into like its own little snake thing. For ARPs, I think of it as snakes, or at least, you know, kind of wibble wobble. Worms? No, I don't want to think about it like worms. No. But that's what I came up with the ARP line and stuff like that. Again, it's just following the synth part that I did from before. So let's go ahead and move on to my favorite part, my prized possession that I really worked hard on, the lead line. So let's go. So here's the lead line that I have right here. And for the preset itself, I decided to modify the default lead that you find with the C4. So if you've watched any of the internet money tutorials and stuff like that, you would know from their first Rage tutorial that I think it was Spaceman, where he used the C4 lead and he just kind of bounced it and did all sorts of stuff, which sounds like this. That's cool, that's pretty sick, but what I decided to do was tweak it a little bit. All I really did was go to the matrix portion of it, and just instead of everything being more spread out and wobbly and panning and all that shit, I just made everything more central, so it sounds like this. So essentially it sounds like a knit, the initial kind of thing in Serum, but it has a little bit tiny reverb and pre-effects, and it has the same characteristics of that C4. So I just did that. And then here's what it sounds like with the MIDI. I fucking love that MIDI line because it literally, all I did to first start off with it and figure it out was just play it with the synth. So I was just playing it together at the same time and just came up with this. Fucking crazy line. And all it was just me tweaking the C4 lead pretty much. So here's everything all together, and this is without effects. That's what I came up for, just an 8-bar loop. And then now we're gonna get to arrangement and effects. So let's get into it. Get into it, yeah. So for the effects, I started off first with the ARP. Or actually, no. I started off with the oh my god, I can't think of it. The synth, sorry. So the synth, here's what it sounds like when it's dry. That sounds cool and all, but here's what I did to change all of that stuff. So all I did was add a little bit of sound goodizer, do a little bit of EQ stuff to take out that mid from the sound goodizer push, and do a little tiny, I'm talking fraction of the high end to make sure it has a little bit of room and it squeezes it so that way it's a little bit more full. And then for the kicker, to give it some more spread, just add some reverb just like this. And this is what it sounds like with the effects. And obviously, like right here in the master chain, just give it a little bit of boost in that mid frequency too as well, and some stereo separation too. But yeah, that in particular really gives that EDM vibe where it's like, ugh. Another helpful tip is when you are making all of this EDM stuff and everything, you want to make sure that your basses and stuff like that are spread out, because if you spread out the sound, you can essentially do things where it's called octave jumping, where if I were to just leave it where the bass is right here and have my chords just like this, it would sound like this. And that's cool. If you want to do that, you can totally do that. But for my personal preference for this particular loop, I decided that, hey, I'm going to give it some more dubstep kind of wub. And so if I pitch it down a little octave and just pitch it down, it's going to give it that full length kind of what's the word? It's going to give it that space. The space, yeah. So this is what it sounds like in difference. And if you hear the bass, it sounds also a lot more video gamey too. It sounds like you're going through like an arcade kind of thing too as well. So that's also another reason I did it, because if I pitch all this stuff up, very high pitchy, but if I do it all the way down, that would sound cool, to be honest, but I wanted to keep it in this spot right here. And again, you can do whatever you want to do, any sort of octave jump that you want to do and stuff like that. I would just suggest that if you're doing a bass and you start from the bass, it's a lot easier to start with the bass when you're making these chords and kind of do your chords and your notes and stuff like that around it. It's all practice, all that good stuff too. So that's the effect for that. After that, what I moved on next to was the ARP actually. And I mean, that's cool and all, but what I decided to do was a lot of different shit. So what I did first was I gave it some EQ stuff. So I did this little mid frequency and then take out a little bit of the low end. I gave it some micro shift to give it some underwater effect, a little bit of radiation right here with the sound toys. And then after that, I decided to even drive it more and give it some more of that cassette high frequency kind of push with Sound Goodizer. And the reason is because what I wanted to do was I wanted to push everything to make it sound like a wall, and then after that, to give it more of that thump, more of that rev, you know, that rev, you know. I actually sidechained it.
Don't sidechain shit, bro. Who does that?
Took a little bit off so that way it's not wah wah wah. It's just a tiny bit. And then took a little bit off of the mix right here. After that, I did the opposite of that, and I actually drenched it in a little bit of reverb, so that way it's only reverbing the sidechain stuff. So when it's going wow wow wow, it's actually reverbing just that specific part and everything, and not just the Sound Goodizer microshift radiator intense sound. Here's without the gross beat actually. Sounds very harsh, but with the gross beat, it kind of tucks in that sound a little bit. And then after that, just add some reverb. And then the last part, which I think is really, really cool. You could also do this with Pan Man, but you could also do it with a lot of, I think there's a Fruity Pan. There should be like a Fruity Pan. Yeah, Fruity Panomatic. You could do the same thing. With Pan Man, I like it specifically because you can kind of do a rhythm thing where it goes left, right, left, right. And here's what it sounds like in tangent. Crazy. So here's without all the effects. I mean, it sounds not that bad, but with everything. Now let's get on to the next part. So here's the bass. So with the bass, this one was fun because the bass just dry like itself with the kicked out preset that I did. It sounds like this. It sounds pretty full. So what I did was I gave it a little bit of mono. I decided to do a little bit of EQ right here. So I took off this little mid frequency, and then I did that radiator stuff, which gives it more of that boost in the high, but also just gives it some saturation and everything. After that, I just did some compression. I used the FabFilter Pro C, did the aggressive preset. So here's what it sounds like with that effect. That's the bass part, and then my favorite part is the lead. So all I really did with the lead part was the lead just dry by itself sounds like this. And the thing that I really wanted to get rid of just off of the top was I wanted to mono it so that way it sounds more in the middle of the sound. And I wanted to give it some spacing, so I gave it a little bit of more wop, some more wet.
What?
I gave it a lot of just wet reverb and stuff like that, just kind of like the regular preset. And then what I also decided to do was after I heard everything, I heard this one frequency that I just really didn't like. Here's what it sounds like with the effects. Absolutely insane, crazy stuff. I just did that. After I did all that stuff, I stemmed them all out, as you can see over here. But yeah, gang, that is pretty much the loop. That is pretty much the entirety of everything I've done so far. So what I'm gonna do pretty much is just add some drums to this hoe. So let's get it. I want to hear what it's gonna sound like when it's pitched down, to be honest. I thought so. To be honest, I don't even want to put an 808 on this. It just sounds really fucking hard. I could do it, but I don't think it needs it, honestly. But yeah, that's pretty much the tutorial. I'm gonna bounce this out and it'll be the end track for what you hear so far. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the beat. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you had a great time, please don't forget to subscribe. Do not forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to comment down below if this is something that you want to see more of me doing or any of the other team in Underground to be doing. We have a lot more tutorials coming up here for you guys. We're just going to be pumping out videos, doing all sorts of sauce, reveal, all sorts of cool new things that are coming out to the gang. And we want to share that with all of you guys too. So let us know if this is something that you want to see more of down below in the comments. I'm going to be responding to almost all of them. And I'm just going to go ahead and let the beat play out. So if you enjoyed, I hope you have a great day. You get to do what you love. And this is Beatnuts signing off. So peace.